just from my experience, a lot of people will literally stay at a job for 20 to 30 years. They don't even like it, but they're staying for that pension.
Over the last 2 years, the average household, their monthly bills are up $709.
And the amount of people like, yeah, I have a full old 401k before I started this job. I don't know where it's at. I don't know how much is in it. I think I have one. Like,
probably the main hook is not the money he makes, but it's the benefits that he gets there. So there is a lot of indirect, decision making that you need to think about tied to the benefits package.
And you waited until I was an hour into this and very tired to play one-on-one.
He's got a bad back.
You can't smell
2
this.
games to 21, back probably
You
was
can't
aching.
smell this, but it's excuses coming through the microphone.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Welcome to How to Money with Kole and Kole.
I'm Kole.
And I'm Kole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation and educate you on investing, retirement, and everything in between. And we'll throw in some sports talk along the way.
Our mission and goal of this podcast is to improve your money journey and help you create the financial life you deserve.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Kole and Kole. I am Baileigh Ashbrook, your host, sitting here with all the guys and our producer, Caleb. What's up, everyone?
Well, just, beautiful day here in Iowa.
Big day for the room. We got flag football practice
Oh,
with head coach Cole Peterson sitting right next to me.
I am honored that my first grade son has the most elite coaching staff in the United States. I'm serious. Cole Peterson, Cole Jaskey, Peacock, almost NFL player, don't forget. And my husband, Lucas Ashbrook. I looked at my husband and I said, wow, that's an intense group for first grade.
Yeah, first and second grade, yeah.
Poor Luke.
You're going to make them run suicides if they drop the pass or something?
Yeah, no, we don't run a whole lot, but we definitely keep practice pretty tight and try to learn the fundamentals.
Yeah, they do a really good job.
It's my
I'm
first
excited.
experience for me.
Football season, itching, school's getting ready to start, and then it'll be basketball season before. I'm excited. Fall's great. It's coming.
Yes, I love fall.
Football
Fall is my
season.
favorite time of year.
Cool little bit. We got tickets to the Iowa women's basketball game that's going to be played in the stadium. They're trying to make the most sales ever.
Yeah, Kinnick
Most watched-
Stadium.
Yes,
so they're
Kinnick.
playing outdoor game in Kinnick Stadium to break the all-time record.
I forgot about it. Do you remember when it was North Carolina Duke played on the Navy ship?
I do remember that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes played in that game.
Yeah, something like that, like playing outdoors.
They do that every year on the men's side. They have a game on a ship.
They have been doing that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first year.
But that's not for the crowd. That's for the ship.
Yeah.
Because
The prior
you don't
record-
put that
For
many
the-
people in there.
The prior record for the women, it's kind of old, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it like quite a while ago? Like 20 years ago or something, or like early 2000s?
I believe so. It was like at the Carrier Dome or something like that. But
It's like a national title game.
But
or
they're
something.
going to shatter it.
Yeah.
I think the record was like 29,000 or something like that, and obviously you can sit like 64,000 in Kinnick Stadium. So
They did the wrestling event there last year in
Yeah.
Kinnick, so
Yep.
it's kind of the same concept.
It'll be cool. Weather
Yeah.
pending. I texted your wife and I said, you want tickets? She said 5 minutes before they went on sale. Yes.
October 15th. It could be
Yeah.
like really nice, or it could be
Rain.
really crappy.
Yeah.
Imagine playing women's college basketball in the rain.
It'd be a cool
outdoors.
experience.
They
though.
just have a rain delay.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I don't think rain they're going to play them. But and then the women sold out the season tickets.
Yeah.
like 2.5 months ago.
The Clark effect.
Yeah,
Sweet.
15,000 tickets. So
Speaking of basketball, and we'll spend 15 minutes,
God.
seconds on this because I know he doesn't want to talk about it.
15 minutes or seconds, please.
Well,
I do want to talk about
this
it.
has been going on. Cole Peterson, who beat you in one-on-one?
In one-on-one, Baileigh Ashbrook won.
Hmm.
Bailey,
No
who won
way.
Put
who
a
won
period.
who won the 2 games of 21 right before that, and you waited until I was an hour into this and very tired to play one-on-one.
He's got a bad back.
You can't smell
2 games
this.
to 21, back probably
You
was
can't
aching.
smell this, but it's excuses coming through the microphone.
I want you to ask Bailey how many points she had in the first game of 21.
With my husband and his 2 sons playing, and yes, and we were playing with a men's ball. Don't forget, and
Those sound like
Caleb.
excuses too.
Now,
Caleb.
now I smell excuses
One-on-one.
coming from
You're
here.
right, but you're
Caleb,
right.
she had 0.
One-on-one.
I won. I had 21. So the score in the first game was 21-0. The second game I also won 21, and she had 7.
Okay.
All right. Well,
And then we played. No, hold on. I want to give all the details. After those 2 games,
I got details to give.
we played a game to 5. who plays games to 5,
I
by the
asked
way.
you. You said you were tired. I said, let's go to 5.
And I said, whatever. Because she was just bugging me the whole day about it. So I was like, fine, whatever. We'll play to 5. Who plays a game to 5? And
Look
it was
at
like
Cole
5
J.
to 3.
Cole, what are you looking at after that? You're like, well, I want to play and see if I
No,
can beat you.
no, I don't care. You guys.
So
It's funny though.
I won.
So I'll be over here and I'll mediate this. Cole Peterson did win a game,
In
but
21.
Baileigh Ashbrook has more stamina, clearly.
Well, duh.
But you're both making excuses, so
It doesn't
It's
matter.
fine.
One-on-ones when you actually have to guard the whole time and score the whole
We'll
time.
have to have
That's
a future.
the huge difference.
We'll have to have a future tiebreaker, okay, to settle this.
And then I'm
Alright.
done. 'cause
Congrats
we're
to
gonna
both of you.
Thank you. We're gonna get on. When I started that 1-1 game, Cole goes, "Do you want to let me? What do you say? Check the ball. Should I let you score it all this game?"
Because you didn't score in the first game.
It's 4-1.
She's got to get the last word in, doesn't
Yeah.
she?
All right, guys, we are going to help you today. Enough of this. We're going to help you what to do when you start a job and leave a job. So let's go with I'm looking for employment. What benefits do I need to look for? What's important? What are things I should be asking in the company when applying for a job?
Well, the number one thing that people look at is healthcare. That's from polls that we looked at. Healthcare is what they're looking for. So you're going to want to check out what plans they have as far as what the deductibles are, what's your max out of pocket. You're going to want to look at your healthcare options with the company. And then second thing that people look at is life insurance. Most times with life insurance, your company is going to cover typically 1, 2, 3 times your salary that they will actually pay for. And then sometimes you'll have an option on to actually do more insurance, and you can do that either underwritten or not underwritten, where you actually have to take a medical exam. So those are the 2 things that you're going to want to look at, or most people do look at.
I was going to say that
guess.
the polls say they look at.
Yeah, the poll says they look at those. Obviously, we don't, deal with the employer health insurance plans, but we do have the option to do employer life insurance plans. But those are 2 things that people will look at.
I will say though, we can definitely help. I mean, we obviously can't make the selection for you, but we're both, we're all pretty versed in having those conversations, because we do get asked, hey, what, can you review this? Should I have, a lot of companies have multiple plans you can choose from. So, going to, looking at your individual situation, do you have children? Are you going to, potentially maybe be having children, looking what plan is going to be more advantageous for you and cover you, or you maybe have a certain medication that you're on. You have to, those are all factors that come into account when you're looking at your health care or health insurance package, whether, taking a new job, moving to a new job, or just getting hired in a field.
Were you guys surprised by that? That's the top 3 people look at is healthcare, insurance, and what was the other one?
The retirement. Yeah.
plan.
I'm not, health insurance being number 1
Surprising?
doesn't surprise me, because I think that's, if you look at individual expenses, that's probably, at the top of the top couple for everyone's budget is where they spend money. Number 2, I was shocked that life insurance was the number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2 one. That
I
did
would think
surprise
like
me.
a 401k and what's your match and what can I get to. I think that would be a top
Yeah,
one.
I wonder if that's more like people that can't get life insurance or don't have never looked into individual life insurance, because we talked about this. Like that'd be very low on my priority list, but I already have individual life insurance because I sell life insurance, so I bought it for myself. So, and I think Caleb made the comment like those being a younger individual, those were important.
Yeah.
Those 2 were very important to you.
yeah, I haven't looked into it, and I don't have my separate life insurance. So if I was looking at that, the way I would look at it is I would want my health insurance covered, because I have me, my wife, and my daughter that I would want good health care for. Life insurance, because currently Lily's not working. So if something happens to me, she definitely needs to be taken care of. And then retirement planning, because that, yes, you're supposed to start investing early, but that's still probably 35 to 40 years from now for me. So at this current minute, I would say health, life, retirement.
It's probably age depending.
My opinion on this, or why the stats read that way, is kind of think we always talk about this behavioral finance of instant gratification delayed. Like retirement's a very delayed gratification thing, where the health insurance, life insurance, those are things that, especially for younger individuals, and life insurance is like the way you don't know the what if, right? But the health insurance piece, so like that's going to affect me right now today, what I select. So
one benefit that we haven't discussed, and we'll go into the 401k and all that, but some people need to look at disability insurance too.
I was just going to say, what else should people be really looking for?
What your employer covers if you're not able to work, because I think there's a stat out there like you're 50% more likely to be disabled during your career than to actually pass away. So you're going to be disabled, and then how are you going to work? Because your employer's not going to pay you if you have to take 6 months off for whatever injury or a cancer or something like that. And maybe some of them will, but if you look at their disability insurance package, if you do go on a disability, what are you going to get paid? Am I going to get paid 60%? Is there a short-term disability? So if you look at that is an important factor. I think people should look at that. Maybe they don't look at a lot.
It's because most of them are 60%. So I've ran through this scenario with people inquiring about disability, and you say, well, you're making $10,000 now, that goes to $6,000 if you're on long-term disability, or certain. Can you make it on that, or do we need to buy some type of gap or individual disability insurance policy to make up for some of that $4,000 that you're going to be missing out on?
Solo income earners especially should look at that, because that $6,000 also that you get paid from the employer, if the employer is paying for the disability insurance, that's taxed. So now you're only bringing home the 50% probably.
I was just going to say, because we kind of flew into that, how do you ask? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like maybe that's a gap people are missing, is when they're actually taking interviews, looking for jobs, like being able to ask, like, what do you offer? What do you offer in your 401k? Like, what would be your best tips for someone? Let's say Caleb's looking for a new job. He wants better benefits, because it did say that 40% of employers believe that their employees leave because they're looking for better benefits. What would you ask them, or what would you tell them to ask for?
Every employer has some sort of handbook or manual that they will give someone if they ask for it.
How many people look through that and know what they're looking for?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
I think an easy question is just whoever's doing an interview, or whether it's an HR manager or it's a whoever it might be, have them give you an explanation of their benefits package, and then if you are still muddy, or the water's still muddy, hey, get the handbook, whatever it might be, go back to someone that you trust that maybe can help you, whether it's a financial advisor or a professional, and have them review it with you, or ask them. And I know I've done that for many people.
Cole, that's what Cole just did it with him.
It's a service I provide to my clients. It is something that I say, send me the handbook. I'll go through it, because I went through hundreds of these, and I can pick out the things that are good or bad, or highlights and things that you should enroll in, shouldn't enroll in, because they are. I mean, the last one I got was 45 pages. Yeah,
that's what I was just gonna say. Real life example. You just went through someone, and she was like, "Should I have this? Should I do this? How much should I opt for life insurance? Like, how much should I be putting into 401k?"
A lot of times there's things for spouses. Sometimes that you can tack on. Like, you can have, your spouse can get some group life insurance really, really cheap through the plan. There's a lot of nuggets that that can be nuggets. I don't know if that's a good word or not, but things underlying that people will miss. That's a valuable benefit. And I think employers, a lot of times, with that stat, they drop the ball sometimes on promoting good benefits, because a lot of employers, I think about that as the businesses I'm involved, that employees, I want to provide good benefits, or at least have the option, but if you don't communicate that to your employees, what they actually have, or if they're not enrolling, or people aren't, a lot of times the employers are dropping the ball on the education piece.
Okay, so I found a job. I love it. I'm excited. I got all these great benefits. I'm overwhelmed. Obviously, 401k, it's very important in enrolling in it. What would be your top tips for that, or what to look for?
So you want to look at what the company is going to match. So the match, a standard, I hate to say standard, but just what is probably industry standard is you put in 6, they put in 3. That's probably like the average. If you put in 6, they put in 5, that's probably a little bit better. If you put in 6 and they're putting in 6, that's probably good. If you're putting in 6 and they're putting in 1, that's probably a little less than average, at least in my experience. So that's what I would look at, is what is the company match? And then also you got to make sure that you pay attention to your old 401ks. I think Baileigh wants to talk about this. That's something that we really stress with people. Don't leave jobs and just leave things behind.
Well, we started a 401k plan for a company, won't name them, but started a 401k, and we sat with all the employees trying to get them enrolled. And the amount of people like, yeah, I have a full old 401k before I started this job. I don't know where it's at. I don't know how much is in it. I think I have one. Like, and there was a stat as of May 2023, there are an estimated 29.2 million forgotten or left behind 401ks in the U.S., meaning that people are just forgetting about them.
When you brought up the stat of the average change, career change is 3 to 7 times in someone's, so that compounds on that. You might have to do this 7 different times, on average, or more. Some are obviously, that's just an average, more. So it is important to, you leave. That should be a part of your checklist is, hey, what am I going to do with my retirement account?
Yeah. All right. So yes, you're leaving your job. You have this old 401k. Why is it important not to maybe leave it? I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to leave it there. Like, what are the not consequences, but the negatives, the cons of leaving the 401k at the 401k company?
So I think the big misconception is that your old employer is paying for that 401k. They're paying for the administration or the plan fee, but as far as like how the plan is paid for, it is paid out of participant accounts typically. So you are still participating in the payment of that plan, even though you don't work there. So leaving it at an old employer, it typically only makes sense to leave it there if you're planning to go back to employment or there's some sort of employer stock that you can't get outside of that plan that you want to keep. Other than that, leaving it at an old employer plan is not typically in your best interest. You have 4 options when you leave an employer. You can leave it in the plan. You are able to leave it in a plan as long as you have over the limits. Usually it's over 5,000. You can leave it in the plan. You can take the distribution in cash and pay taxes and or penalties if you're under the age of 59 and a half.
Don't do that.
You can roll it to your new employer plan. Most employer 401k plans will accept rollovers, so you can do that. Or you can roll it to an IRA. So an IRA you can do on your own. You can do through a financial advisor, however you want to do it. Those are your 4 main options when you leave an employer. And unfortunately, the option that gets picked a lot of times is just leaving it there and take care of it later, and that's not something you should do.
And I don't know the stats on that, but I'm assuming that's why they're forgotten. You forget your login, you can't get logged in, you don't know how much is in it, you have no control of the investments, and then if the 401k goes somewhere else, you're in trouble. So like, I think it's just being in control and knowing what's in it and taking it over with you. Like just always, and you talked about, you had a friend who's changed jobs a few times, and you're like, he's doing so well because he's just, every time he leaves, he takes the 401k, he rolls it over.
Very, very diligent. I always compare the IRA, a rollover IRA. It's like the consolidation bucket. You leave, you work for somewhere for 5 years, you accumulate, assets in there. And then, at some point you transition to a new job. And we have the discussion always of whether to move it to that new employer plan or move it to an IRA. And we obviously think, we believe in the power of advice and guidance. And a lot of times we recommend, it moving to an IRA. Not always. There are times where it doesn't make sense, but and then we get to be more customized by doing that. So you can break it down a lot more individually and very specific to you and your goals versus that 401k plan. It was designed by the employer, so it's going to match the masses, not you as an individually.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned this, like as your old employer, they can change the plan from company to company, and you don't have any say in that. So if your 401k plan is at Fidelity and you leave employment and you leave it there for 2 years, and 2 years later the company says, hey, we're going to move our plan to Principal, your money goes with them if it's in their 401k plan, and you have no choice out. And then there's blackout periods where you can't do anything. They change the investment. So it just, you're a little bit out of control of things when you're not at that employer, plus the communication, them communicating with old employers, your address changes. It's just not a good idea to leave it unless, like I said, those other 2 reasons.
Yeah, that's good to know. So things to look for when going for a job. Another big one is with the 401k, should I do pre-tax or Roth? And we talked a lot about this with our new 401k plan. Do you want to maybe help someone if they have a new option for Roth, what they would decide?
Yeah. I mean, again, it always comes down to your individual situation, right? And first educating yourself what the difference in pre-tax and Roth. And we've talked about that on prior episodes. So if someone is interested in that and wants to have more, education on that, go back and listen to those. But, really making sure, it's all based on your individual tax, income tax situation. And then obviously there's some benefits there to go in the Roth side versus the pre-tax side. But again, it just comes down to educating yourself and then understanding, there are going to be some changes where 401k is going to be, employers going to be able to do Roth matching. We haven't really seen that take effect yet, but as that stuff adjusts and change, a lot of plans are going to be amended probably here in the next 2 years to allow some different type of employer, you to elect different, whether the employer matches on the Roth side or on the pre-tax side. And that's coming, not there yet, but it is coming.
But those are things to be aware of too when you're looking for a job. Do they offer a 401k? Are they planning on offering a 401k? Do they match? How much? You know what I mean? These are just things to weigh out because they are going to impact your future.
Profit sharing is another big one too, that, it's a lot of times there's and really profit share is what it is, the company sharing profits. But, and that's an election by the business to say, hey, we had a good year, we're going to do a profit share. And a lot of times that's on top of your standard match. Now, not always the case, and not all businesses do that, but that is a big benefit. If there's a company and they're hiring you or looking to try to recruit you, and they're saying, hey, we have a standard match, but we do, traditionally we've been doing a 9% profit share or whatever it might be. That could be, depending on your wage, a very huge benefit that you don't really, see right away, but it's coming and it can compound very drastically.
Yeah. So it is overwhelming, not overwhelming, but it's also a good tool to look at, like, hey, what benefits do they offer me? But what are some that maybe you see a lot of companies recommend that you really don't jump on or use besides those top
maybe
ones?
Unconventional.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Some unconventional options there are lots of different insurance that are out there, and you can be offered what's called the critical accident and hospital insurance. There's also cancer insurance. There's many different things that you can enroll in. I would say those, to me, from my experience in the industry, I do not like those. I've had several clients that have had those, and it's really hard to get money out of those companies. There's a lot of
red tape.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
I knew you had a word for it. There's a lot of red tape. If you didn't have this different ailment, you had this ailment, but you didn't have it this way, you had it this way, and then it doesn't pay. And I don't think that the money is worth it. I've only had it really work out for like one or two people. And a lot of times you end up fighting with the insurance company trying to get the money that you're owed. So I'm not big on those extra nuggets as far as critical accident, cancer.
And a lot of times they come with, like pre-existing condition clauses. And a lot
I
of
was going to
times
say, you have a
people
real
that
life example.
like people that are wanting cancer insurance, a lot of times they might have family history, or maybe they had cancer at one point and like, oh, I can get that. Not, you sign up quick, it's $30 a month. And there's a clause in there that you didn't read because you didn't read all the contract that says, hey, if you've had cancer, any cancer in your past, you're basically not allowed to,
you just
to
paid
put
in
a claim
for
on
5
this.
years, and now we're not going to pay you out.
Yep. So that's where be aware of what you're purchasing, because it is a lot of times, and nothing against that industry, but a lot of times it's someone that a little more salesy type. So you just want to make sure you're educated. I'm not saying that's everyone, but that is the case. In some of our experiences, personal experiences. And we hate to see that when someone's like, oh, I committed to this, I thought it was this, and then I actually had an event, and then it, you really go down that rabbit hole and you get nothing out of it.
Yeah, that's frustrating. And when you're going through something like that, you don't want to be fighting with a
it's
company.
The last thing you want to worry about.
Save some money and put it aside investment.
Hey there, listeners. This episode of How to Money with Kole and Kole is sponsored by BetterHelp. I don't know about you, but for me, finding the work-life balance of being a husband and father and working a job has been so rewarding, but it also can be so exhausting. And that's why it's important for me to take care of my health, and not just my physical health, but my mental health. And that's where therapy comes in.
BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service. And you know what's great about it? It's 100% online.
With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of challenges. To get started, you just have to answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call.
You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge.
With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you with more scheduling flexibility at a more affordable price.
Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/CFG to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BaileighAndKole.com/CFG.
Let's do a little dollars and cents, boys.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Everyone's favorite word, Cole Peterson, inflation.
Inflation. It's been rampant lately. And we read an article, I sent it to Kole and Baileigh, that over the last 2 years, the average household, their monthly bills are up $709. So whether it's heat, groceries, you name it, $709, their bills are up over the last 2 years. So that is pretty high.
I believe it because budget Nazi over here. That's pretty accurate. Like I think about what I used to have left over per month versus now, and that's
It's almost $10,000
7 to
a
8.
year.
Yeah.
$10,000 a year.
That's crazy. Oh,
I always say don't cry over spilt milk, but I'm like, have you seen some of these milk prices? Like,
Yeah, you might want to cry about it. But then
piggyback on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew we were going to do that for dollars and cents. I was like, oh, and I ran across a stat that probably feeds right into that is car repairs year over year for you. Basically, if you going to get your car repaired, the average increase to repair your car is 20% increase year over year, which is way above the average, what inflation is running at year over year. So that's a big piece of it. And, a lot of it is, there's lack of people to work on the cars. There's a lot of age. I saw the stats on, there's a lot of older cars on the market too. And then, the standard supply chain and all that, good junk, but
yeah,
crazy.
I think Caleb had an example of his dad repaired something recently and it was like twice as much. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was this spring. My mom's car broke down and she needed an alternator. And my dad, he's like thinking, he goes to the store thinking he knows what the price is going to be. And he told me after, he said it was almost double what he had paid for an alternator like a year and a half prior.
And that's just a material. Think
Yeah.
of like if you're going to a mechanic shop, their rates are probably increased year over year.
it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when every single bill of yours has gone up $15 to $20, internet,
Yeah.
car insurance, I'm like, dang, everything's gone up $20. And then you're like, oh, those are 12 revolving bills that are all up $20. Like, makes a difference.
Income,
Yeah.
property
And
tax.
Here's the thing. So
It's
when
not
you're
an
looking
inflation
for
thing,
when
but-
you're looking for a new job and they have a 401k match, tell yourself, wow, I should really be taking advantage of this now, because think how expensive it's going to be to live in the future. So like that instant gratification, we were talking about how much people are spending on Taylor Swift tickets. Like what they say they were paying. I do think this is interesting.
So Taylor, I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but Taylor Swift's concert tour just finished. It grossed $5 billion in revenue. And the average, and they did a survey of, and again, I don't know how many people it was. The average individual that went to in the survey spent $1,300
Between
per individual.
ticket,
Yeah, the event.
Yeah.
merchandise,
Yep.
food, drinks, they spent $1,300.
When they get there, there's probably this Airs tour. Like you got to buy the T-shirt, you got to buy the
Yeah.
bracelets. Like, but it is
Experience.
interesting. Like, and I would be curious, and I didn't look this up, how many people take a new job for a higher salary versus better benefits? Because I get sometimes, yeah, you might be making a little more, but do they have remember, you got to pay yourself in the future too. So
It's the UPS thing going out there. I don't know if you guys seen much about this. They're talking, they're in this phase where they're redoing their labor contract. So, and supposedly the new contract, their wage for a driver will be $170,000 at the end of their new contract. But that doesn't, a lot of it is their benefits because they don't pay for health insurance. They have fully paid health insurance, dental insurance. They have a pension, almost $11 an hour goes into their pension.
Wow.
For them from the company. So there's a lot of indirect compensation like for them, like obviously, and I have a good friend who's a UPS driver, and that's probably the main hook is not the money he makes, but it's the benefits that he gets there. So there is a lot of indirect, decision making that you need to think about tied to the benefits package.
And we talked a lot about in the beginning, starting a job, what to look for. So like probably even more important, what to do when you leave a job. What do I do with my 401k, which we talked about, my pension? Can I take my life insurance? What about health insurance? Like what are the top checklists you guys say to do
Cole,
when I leave a job?
I call up Cole Peterson. Hey, I just got a new job at, I'm a UPS driver.
Oh,
what do I need
okay.
to do, man?
Well, yeah. So the 401k would be top of mind. The second thing would be for me is, especially if you have any sort of health issues where you're not able to get life insurance outside of work, look at the option of taking your life insurance with you. So I have a little bit of a story. I had someone that had to retire because they were unhealthy. had cancer. The outlook was not good. And she was only 63, 64 years old. And we tried very hard to get the packet from the life insurance company to get that, to have the option to take her with her, because we knew that with her cancer situation, she was not going to get life insurance outside of what she could get a job, and she had to retire because of her health issues. So she wasn't going to a new employer that was going to have a life insurance policy. So we worked very hard to get that packet from them. Never got it. She ended up passing away, and then we actually went to the company and said, "Hey, we never got this packet."
She was clearly going to carry it with it.
She was going to carry it with her. She passed away. We need the packet so we can, get this life insurance paid out to her husband. And we actually did get it. It took some doing.
You had to get the employer and the life insurance company on the phone because they were both blaming each other of who didn't send the packet.
Right. Yeah. It was quite the situation. But just know that when you leave your job, you typically have the option to take the life insurance with you. So if you are retiring or you have a medical issue, maybe going to a new employer that doesn't offer life insurance, you can typically take your old life insurance with you. You pay the premium yourself, so your employer no longer pays the premium, but that is an option for you.
Okay.
I would say a good piece of that story is don't wait.
Yeah.
On some of these things. Especially if there's critical situations, because a lot of times there's a time frame that you have with certain things, just like health insurance to select for Cobra. And things there. Make sure you're having that conversation when that transition period does happen.
And if you don't get anything, reach out to them. Like, hey, where's my exit packet? Where's my benefits? How do I, you know what I mean? That you're entitled to that. What about a pension? I think that's maybe not a huge topic everywhere, but in Iowa, there's still a lot of pensions.
Yeah. I mean, I would say we still probably above average amount of pensions still with the different employers in our area. So it's a conversation we have quite a bit, and there's a lot of options. I think this is a time, I would say, if there's a time to talk to a financial advisor. If you have a pension election coming up, or you're going to transition, and hopefully you're talking to us before that, getting there. But
I agree.
It can be very, very overwhelming. I know, I think of the co-op here locally, their pension, they have 10 options. That's just their base options, and you get a page.
Give a few examples of like top 3 you usually hear.
Yep. I mean, a lump sum is very common, where you get paid a lump sum out, you move it to an IRA. That's common. You have the life, basically a lifetime payout maximized on an individual life. And then you have maximum life based on you and your spouse. Those would be, I would say, top 3 you see, just like someone would standard. And then there's all kinds where maybe it goes down to 60% if you die for your wife. A lot of it's depending on if you're married or not. I think that's a big piece.
And this is why you're saying it's important, because there's people, and we've had it, or they're like, well, I selected this option because Bill, who I work with, to select this option. And all of a sudden,
many times I've had that.
He realizes, okay, so Luke, my husband, selected that. He dies. The pension goes away. He selected the wrong one, meaning like the money doesn't come to me, or I have only entitlement for a certain amount. Instead, we could have maybe taken that lump sum and invest. I'm just giving an example.
Very
of like
different
why it's important.
If you're married or not married,
Yes.
I think. Or if you're planning with someone and not planning, your options are going to be probably far, far different.
And I've also had people that leave jobs that have pensions that don't think that they have the option to do something with it, that they think that they just have to hold it until they retire and then take their monthly payment, which is not typically the only option. Now, sometimes it is. That's the thing is pension plans are very individualized to that company. So the company gets to pick the options. The company says, okay, we're going to allow these 2 options, or we're going to allow these 10 options. They can pick on what they want to do. But I also think of IPERS is a big one when, because obviously IPERS is in Iowa. There are, I think, 14 different options. I can't remember exactly right now, but there are a ton of options when it comes to IPERS. And I've read through them several times so I can explain them to people, where if you are not in the industry and you try to read through them, you're probably not going to, be able to pick the one that's right.
A lot of times people just go to the highest number.
Yeah.
Right. And like, oh, well, not know what that means, or someone's just making a quick selection. But yeah, it's, that can be very overwhelming. I think even for us from a planning standpoint, it's like, oh, we want to, it's a big, because once you make that, it's basically an irrevocable, you're selecting that and you're moving forward. I mean, that's really what it is.
I'll ask this because we hear this a lot, and this isn't really on our list. Okay, so I'm a teacher, I have IPERS, or Luke asked me last time, I'm a plumber, I'm invested in my pension for so much. Should I stay at this career for those IPERS? Should I stay here for this pension? Because just from my experience, a lot of people will literally stay at a job for 20 to 30 years. They don't even like it, but they're staying for that pension, or you know what I mean? So maybe shed light. I'm serious. Like I hear that Luke's employees are like, I will not leave the union because of the pension.
This maybe some of this is going to be based on your personal situation too, of like, maybe your upbringing. There's a lot of factors coming to this, but I'm one that you never should stay at a company for purely the wage, the benefits, the pension, whatever it might be. I purely, you got to be happy. And because I think if you're happy, the other stuff's going to come, and you're a good person. Like that's how I'm an optimist on that. So when someone says like, oh, I got to stay here for this, but I hate my life every day, like that's not justification ever for me. I'm like, if you're a smart individual, you can go out and find something that does make you happy, and your success is going to follow. Now, it might not be right away, but it is going to follow. And it's purely, I think you look at, quality of work, your work-life balance first, and then all the benefits should be secondary. That's in my opinion.
I'm so glad you said that too, because I was thinking all these people are looking at these benefits, but like you need to work somewhere where you're going to excel, where you're going to be successful, that like you're good at that job. And like benefits are very important in taking advantage of them, and especially when you leave job, taking them with you. But I agree. Like, for example, Luke has a pension and he's always like, well, I don't want to lose my pension. I'm like, we're not even calculating it into retirement, because I think it's maybe not an older generation thing, but they feel very loyal to the pension. I'm like, and just for clarification, you don't have a lot of control over the pension. And I've told him this, I'm like, if you want to leave plumbing in 5 years, I'm not saying he is, but like, for example, we'll take that money and we'll invest it on our own, and we'll probably make more. And I'm not saying, but there's a discipline in that. Like the great thing about pension is they're doing it for you, but you're probably going to make more if you go take a job, put that money aside in an investment vehicle for yourself.
Companies can stop the pension.
Yeah.
Now you're entitled to your old benefit or whatever dollars are in there. That's whatever be allocated to you. But at any time, if that, certain business A, they say, hey, we're going to stop funding the pension. Now we're only going to do a 401k match. That's happened. I know that some of the co-ops here locally in Iowa, there's ones where people have the old pension, but new employees don't have access to the pension anymore. So it's that, you can't always, and I'm a loyalty person, but you got to, make sure you're taken care of and you're happy first.
I completely agree with you guys both on the work-life balance and not staying at a job for a pension or anything or any other benefit completely. But there are also times where you got to educate yourself on the timing of these things. And one thing that comes to mind again in IPERS is the rule of 88.
Yes.
Because I had one of my clients come in and she was 1 year away from the rule of 88. And I'm like, look, if you can stick it out for one more year, your pension payment doubles. So that's what you got to weigh. I mean, I'm never going to say you should stay at this job if you're very, very unhappy, but we got to educate them on, okay, we've only got one more year and then we really hit the sweet spot. So if it's
you were saying suck it up for a year.
No, but I agree. There is like educated risk.
And your family, right? You got to always take your family account. Like, I think of places that have really great health insurance and you've got 5 kids.
Yes.
And you're going to a place
you might have to work there for a year until you get better health insurance.
There's a lot of factors.
Which brings me back to that point when you're looking for jobs, don't be afraid to ask.
Explain your benefits package to me.
Yeah,
that's a simple question to ask.
And I think this is even more important too. What are my future opportunities? How are you going to train me to be successful, and what can I work to? Like, can I grow in this company?
Yeah, don't just look at the salary of the job. You've got to also look at what the benefits. And I think something nice that Principal did for us is they would calculate what the benefits all gave you. So your salary was this, but your overall pay from what Principal actually paid for was this. So it was, it was nice that they would quantify it that way for you. So, if, and I did that when I was looking at different jobs to move away from Principal, like, well, if you're not going to offer these benefits, you're only going to offer these 2, then my salary's got to be this much higher because I'll have to buy that on my own.
Correct. Like the benefits are part of your salary. You just don't, like you said.
Indirect.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. So you guys, how many times have you guys changed jobs so far?
I am on number 4.
And this is a bad example. You're probably all on your own with your benefits. But again, with the life insurance thing and the 401k, if you don't have those things, make sure you're taking care of those things on your own. If your company doesn't offer life insurance, or if it's only 1 to 2 times your salary, make sure you're going to see an advisor. Like, hey, I only have $200,000 of life insurance. If something happens to me, my wife needs more. You know what I mean? They need 10, whatever it may be. Or even, hey, I don't have a 401k match. What can I invest in? Or whatever it may be. Cole J, how many times have you changed job?
3 technically, unless you count all my like, youth jobs, and it's like 20, but
Yeah, I was talking about like after college.
My
Big boy
adult,
jobs?
my adult life, it's been 3. And now, I would consider us, we work for ourselves now.
Yeah.
So this is my last job change because I am my employer. So unless I fire myself,
Your
Does
success
NFL
is
quarterback
based
still count as
it'd
a
be
job?
kind of like 4 then. Yeah. If you count that as like,
Well, I hear
failed quarterback, maybe that's my 4.
I hear they recruit first grade football coaches to the NFL. No,
Baileigh, what job are you on?
three or
Three?
4. But I think that's interesting because I think more people change jobs way more than they used to. So this is why this is important when looking for a new job, what to look for. And even more importantly, don't leave your benefits, your 401ks. Like that's dollars. I think the average 401k left behind is like $50,000. Think about that. Like there's $50,000 you just lost in retirement.
Just floating out there.
You're on number 2, right? You're 20.
Well,
how
this
old,
is
21?
this is technically my first adult job.
Okay.
Because I worked at Fairway through
Yeah.
high school and college, and then once I finished college, I started here.
We'll talk
So-
to you in 10 years and see.
Yeah.
I do think it's important though too because it's such a leverage of keeping good employees, like retention, keeping the right people, and working for the right people. And benefits are a huge part of that. And also, again, you got to enjoy what you do and who you work with. I think that's number 1.
Yeah, and if you don't like the benefits package that your employer currently is offering you, go to your HR, go to your management, and ask them, to make some changes. Or why are you smirking? You need me to make some changes.
Cole Peterson, I would like a little more benefits. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's important. I know you guys are laughing at me, but I was looking at him like, I could use a little more match. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very fortunate. Like we work in this world, so it's top of mind. Like I work for good people. We have good benefits and it's all taken care of. So
Yeah, we try to.
when you lose, talk little. When you win, talk less. The GOAT, Tom Brady.
Go Cubs.
You've been listening to How to Money with Cole and Kole, the podcast of the Central Financial Group, courtesy of Spin Market. To learn more, visit their website at www.centralfinancialgroup.com and follow them on all their social media platforms.
For now, I'm Cole,
And I'm Cole.
and we'll see you on the greens.
4.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC. Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated. Material discussed is meant for general informational purposes only, and it is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Diversification does not insure against loss. Any guarantees discussed refer only to fixed insurance products and are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.